The kettle whistled on the kitchen stove. Alice took the tea towel that was hanging on the handle of the oven door and wrapped it loosely around her hand. She lifted the steam kettle from the ring. On her mug were a dozen or so cat faces. They stared up at her as she dropped a single tea bag into the mug. Sustenance27 Jade Nirvana. She added the water. Usually she preferred plain old black tea, but she had run out. It had been several days since she had been out to the store. She wasn't ready to face the world. After probably 6 months, this was the first taste of her special green tea that she had purchased from the tea guy at the farmer's market. He had a strangely conservative air about him, for a white guy in his 50s, who wore his hair in dreadlocks and an old knitted rainbow sweater. Alice lifted the mug of tea to her lips, and she sipped. She'd forgotten how much she actually enjoyed the taste of green tea. It was just a little bitter, but with the addition of a little honey, it was quite delicious. The toaster popped, and a charred slice of bread leapt in vain for the ceiling. It was the heel of the loaf, the last slice. Once again, honey seemed to be the answer. She'd also run out of butter. Alice was going to have to venture out soon if she didn't want to starve. Alice placed her mug on the kitchen table.
"Shit,"
she said as she spilled a little. The tea hadn't burned her hand, but she winced and blew on it, as if on autopilot. The green floral tablecloth had suffered worse. It was originally her mother's. Alice was about to turn 32. She figured that the tablecloth had to be at least that old. One of the washed out stains in the tablecloth reminded Alice that just 5 nights ago she had cooked a beautiful homemade chicken curry with garlic naan breads, yogurt, and a spicy lentil dal. James had sat across from her smiling. They had spoken little, just laughing, with mouths full as they watched each other stuffing their faces. The meal had been a great success. They had gone from the dining table straight to the bedroom, happy in the knowledge that they both smelled equally of garlic, and that they didn't care one bit.
"Where the hell have you gone?"
Alice spoke aloud to herself as she thought about James, and that lovely meal. She bit into her burnt toast. It was sticky but dry. She took another sip of tea before opening the pantry for the 3rd time. She took a small bowl from the drying rack by the sink. She filled it with some dry cereal and topped it off with a handful of raisins. This hardly qualified as breakfast. It was merely sustenance. At the other side of the room there was an old sofa with a wood-burning stove. Nearest to the door of the wood stove was an armchair. When people entered the room, they would always gravitate towards that armchair. It was not pretty, but it had personality. Alice had convinced James that they should buy it from the thrift store when they first bought the house. It was the type of seat that gave you a warm hug when you sat in it, and meanwhile it stole any loose contents from your pockets and it consumed them. Alice went to the chair and she sat. Her purple woolen tights prickled slightly with the heat. The crackle of the fire complemented the sound of the rain against the window. She nibbled at the dry cereal, and she toyed with the occasional raisin between her teeth. Soon she'd probably run out of logs for the stove. She'd always been scared of the axe. Alice cradled her warm mug to her chest. She contemplated her newfound loneliness, and she refused to believe that it would continue this way much longer. The small bowl on Alice's lap slipped.
"Shit."
Dry cereal and raisins disappeared down the side of the cushion, into the gaping mouth of the sofa. Alice instinctively thrust her hand into the gap, and what she found startled her, causing her to spill what was left of her green tea. She was dumbstruck. It was James's wallet, containing his driving license, and all of his cards.
"Ma'am, there ain't no reason to suspect your husband just gone off for a bit. Maybe some kind of midlife crisis."
one of the detectives had said previously.
Where could he have gone without money or ID?
Alice decided that she would leave the house today after all.